Have you ever wondered why you can make a firm resolution at 10 p.m. to completely change your life tomorrow, only for that burning drive to vanish the moment your alarm rings the next morning? You didn't suddenly become a different person overnight. What actually happened is that your brain switched operators. During the quiet hours of the evening, your prefrontal cortex, the logical, forward-thinking brain region responsible for self-control, was sitting safely in the driver's seat, mapping out your future. But when morning came and the friction of reality hit, your amygdala and limbic system took over. That older, survival-driven part of your brain cares about only one thing in the present moment: escaping discomfort and keeping you safe. If you've spent your life feeling like self-discipline is a character trait you were simply born without, let's trace how your nervous system actually got you here. Self-discipline isn't a mystery, nor is it a sign of moral superiority. In psychology, self-discipline is recognized as a complex interplay between neurochemistry, learned neural pathways, and cognitive load. It's the constant internal tug-of-war between the brain's demand for instant dopamine and its capacity for long-term goal planning. When you understand the biological rules of that battle, you stop fighting against your own hardware and start engineering your mind to work with you. Think about what happens when you sit down to focus on a challenging task, like writing a detailed proposal or studying for an exam. Within 10 minutes, your brain experiences a spike in mental effort, which registers biologically as mild discomfort. Almost automatically, your hand reaches for your phone to check a quick notification. In psychological terms, this is an emotional regulation failure. Your brain learned that clicking an app provides a rapid drop in cortisol and an immediate hit of dopamine, effectively soothing the friction of hard thinking. The way you break that conditioned habit loop isn't through raw willpower, which depletes rapidly under stress. Instead, you use a psychological technique called implementation intentions, or if-then planning. You preemptively write down the exact trigger and action. If I feel the urge to check my phone while working, then I will take 2 slow, deep breaths and keep my hands on the desk. By deciding your response in advance, you bypass the emotional choice in the moment, training your brain to bridge the discomfort gap without seeking a digital escape. Consider another common scenario. You commit to a new, rigorous habit, like going to the gym every single morning. For the first 3 days, excitement carries you through. But by day 4, your physical energy dips, work gets busy, and the sheer cognitive friction of putting on your shoes and driving across town causes you to abandon the routine entirely. Your brain views the massive energy output as an unnecessary threat to its reserves, leading to decision fatigue and eventual burnout. Psychology offers a clear biological antidote to this through the concept of habit stacking and friction reduction. Instead of relying on motivation, which fluctuates wildly based on sleep and stress, you attach the new behavior to an already automated neural pathway. You pair brushing your teeth with immediately putting on your workout clothes, removing every intermediate micro-decision. By lowering the initial activation energy required to start, you allow the brain's basal ganglia, the hub for automatic habits, to execute the motion before your limbic system has time to talk you out of it. Then there is the psychological trap of the "what the hell" effect, a well-documented cognitive bias in behavioral science. Imagine you are eating healthy, but mid-afternoon you give in and eat a single donut. Immediately, an all-or-nothing mindset kicks in. You think, well, I already ruined my diet today, so I might as well eat pizza for dinner and start fresh next week. This cognitive distortion turns a minor slip into a complete derailment, because the emotional guilt triggers the brain to seek comfort in the exact behavior that caused the issue in the first place. To neutralize this spiral, psychologists emphasize radical self-compassion over harsh judgment. Research consistently shows that self-criticism lowers self-control by increasing stress, whereas self-compassion restores executive function in the prefrontal cortex. When a misstep happens, you acknowledge it neutrally, without assigning shame. You treat it not as a failure of character, but as a temporary data point. By neutralizing the emotional guilt, you prevent the secondary cravings and cleanly resume your baseline routine on the very next decision, rather than waiting for a new week to begin. Finally, we have to talk about how environment shapes the brain's internal architecture. You might try to stay disciplined while keeping distracting tabs open on your browser, snacks on your desk, or your phone sitting right beside your keyboard. Every time you consciously resist looking at that phone, your prefrontal cortex burns through precious glucose to suppress the impulse. By mid-afternoon, your capacity for focus is completely exhausted, leaving you vulnerable to every temptation that comes your way. The psychological solution here is choice architecture. Highly disciplined individuals rarely rely on greater willpower. They simply build environments where willpower isn't constantly needed. You optimize your physical surroundings so that the desirable behavior requires the least amount of effort, while the undesirable behavior requires maximum friction. You put the phone in another room, use website blockers, and leave your workspace clear. When temptation is out of sight, your brain doesn't have to spend biological energy resisting it, freeing up your cognitive resources for deep, meaningful effort. At its core, mastering the science of self-discipline isn't about waging a constant, painful war against yourself. It's about understanding the neural mechanics of how your mind operates, treating your brain's limits with empathy, and setting up systems that make consistency the path of least resistance. When you shift your perspective from relying on brute force willpower to engineering your psychology, staying on track stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like second nature.